temperature a bit for you, Adam. There's more people watching than you can see here in the, the Zoom session. Okay, give me 10 seconds and then I'll set it up and then we can jump in. The temperature a bit for you, Adam. There's more people watching than you can see here in the,
Imagine.
And then we are good to go. Okay, so it means that Adam, I'm going to make you the host again. I'm not going to say too much because I think I'll just waste your time. But Decentraland is obviously one of the better metaverses to I think to follow, right? If you want to see where everything is going, especially the whole decentralized organization behind it and the whole way it's set up, for me is intriguing. So that's why we invited you. I'm very curious for the story. For everybody listening in, feel free to ask questions, but you cannot speak because it's a webinar, so you're automatically muted. But you can type your questions in the chat window. And Adam, to make life easy for you, I'll collect the questions and put them to you at the right moment, so you're not interrupted in the lecture.
Awesome.
Okay, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Adam, and I'm the head of partnerships at Decentraland. I've been working with the platform for since late 2020. I've seen the growth, being part of a number of different processes and a whole heap of other parts. But I thought the best thing that we could do is maybe just run through a little bit of an introduction. But at the same time, best way to probably do that is to actually enter the platform and have a look around. So,
Adam, I'm really sorry to interrupt. Would it be possible to press the record button so we have this for our other users as well?
Sure. I thought it was already recording. Yeah.
You see it, Adam? It's the circle in the bottom.
Yeah, no, but because I'm sharing the screen, I couldn't see the record. There we go. Record on this computer, record to the cloud.
Cloud, please. Then we're.
Sorry?
Yeah, pick the cloud. Cloud is fine. That's the perfect sound. Okay, then we're officially good to go. Thanks.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm Adam. I'm the head of partnerships at Decentraland, and I thought, what better way to sort of introduce Decentraland than entering the platform and having a look. So simply here, you would notice that this is my avatar. I'm wearing a 1 of 1,000 wearable that's from a musician called Alice in Wonderland. So this is actually an NFT. The sneakers are from a company called Artifact. They're an NFT as well. I have been able to connect my wallet, and that's the reason to why I've been able to have those wearables within my inventory. So you would notice that in my backpack, these are all just loading. These are all my my items that I can actually wear and use within my experiences whilst I explore the platform itself. So I don't know what happened there, but if we have a look, the avatars themselves, you can customize via a whole heap of different models. But the tops, these are all things that I've collected over my time, and they're connected to my digital wallet that I can connect to the platform. But you can also connect via just being a guest, which doesn't require any wallet or email for that matter. So you can just join and experience the platform like everyone else. But there are particular parts that are really intriguing about Decentraland, and I've just somehow disappeared to go to a land, but that's all right. What I'll do is I'll explore. I'm going to go to the map. But there's a few parts to this that I'd like to walk through, but this is our map. This is made up of actually 90,000 parcels of land. It was sold 4.5 years ago. And at that point in time, bit harder for me to understand where I am, but that's okay. I'm working my way through. The platform, yeah, so there was 90,000 parcels of land sold 4.5 years ago, and the platform's been live for 2.5 years now. We recently celebrated our second birthday. And the most intriguing part about the platform itself is the ethos behind it. So it's actually a community managed and owned project, and the reason to why this is the case is on the basis that anyone that owns land actually has governance and voting rights over the platform, and the same to those that own Mana, which is our crypto. But the platform itself is based on the ethos of Decentraland, because anyone that has governance has the right to has a voting power for the platform itself. So any proposal that's put through, the community vote for. So anyone that owns land has 2,000 voting power versus that of Mana, which is 1-to-1 for each token. But its actual theory itself is around the basis that the Decentralized Autonomous Organization, also known as a DAO, hosts all the voting and the proposals that come through from the community itself. So this is me now at where I would have logged in initially. It's called Genesis Plaza. There are all different types of users concurrently working or logging in at the same time I am. On the board over there, it will show where which event or which venue itself has the most amount of users. There's different events that come up here in terms of particular highlights, but I'll jump off the diving board and go straight down into the platform itself. And this is a few different things. Here as a user, you'll learn how to operate the platform. There's an interesting sort of theory around how much humans need to be guided in general. And here you've got the options of just learning a little bit about and educating yourself around what the platform's about and what it includes. But I'm here walking, but you can also teleport, as you've noticed. So I'll press M on my keyboard. I'm using a mouse, and the keyboard WASD allows me to turn left, right, and go forward and backwards. And I can teleport to anywhere on the map, or you can go for a long walk. I'm going to show you a couple of different scenes that sort of I thoroughly enjoyed working on. One would be something's coming up. So the Sotheby's build actually launched in May last year, and for a 250-year-old auction house.
That's the auction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 200. So like for them, it was. For us to have a 250-year-old auction house sort of complete a build that's based on a 1-to-1 scale of their Bond Street gallery, it's on actually a 5x4 parcel of land. And I'll run through a few of these things once I'm through a little bit of this demo. I'm going to just show you some context to it. But basically, there's someone entering and leaving. There's a few different people that are checking out this scene. But when they do host events, some of these doors will open. You can go upstairs. They've turned these into a virtual swamp before, which has been a lot of fun to sell the infamous Bored Ape Yacht Club. So the facade would stay the same, but the juxtaposition would be that the building then would change inside. There's Vice over there. And, they host different panels and a lot of different things as well. But the platform, I'm sort of catching my breath whilst everything's happening in front of me. But the platform being based on the ethos of decentralization means that the world itself and the platform itself being governed by its people was structured in such a way that the foundation, which is what I work with and a lot of our team, works in good faith of the roadmap that the users have voted in most cases. So we will develop the, what you'll see today is this is on a browser, and we've currently got we have just deployed a beta version of this for desktop. We're developing for mobile right now as well. And, further on VR. We have created all the SDKs that allow you to actually build on your land, and as well as the wearables that I'm just showing you here now through an SDK as well. We've got a content team, and that content team create events like Fashion Week that you might have seen recently. They're holistic events, macro events for to inspire the community and those around it for real-time use cases for industries that we continue to try and push. There's lots of different types of events that Decentraland run as the foundation. Art Week, which I'm about to jump into here, is a 7-day, well, technically a 10-day program, but it's in its 3rd year now. That's coming up in July, where we hero lots of different marketplaces from the platform, including even Sotheby's, and Christie's had an experience last year. This is where NFT art and physical art sort of come together in many different ways, and people can showcase, run events not too different from the physical world itself. Let's have a look at what's happening in Maker's Place, which is a gallery. This is, we celebrated we actually hosted the event for Christie's when they launched their, just going to go into 3D mode. So we hosted the Beeple 69.9 million NFT sale in here in this venue. And then there's lots of different marketplaces, but basically when you've got Art Week or Pride that's coming up in June, Metaverse Music Festival, which is happening in October, November, that was for the first time last year, which had over 80 different musicians perform, including Deadmau5 and Paris Hilton. There was 5 or so different stages across 4 different days. The content team sort of build these things to obviously inspire the community to continue to build, but the clear case study as well is around the open source nature of the platform itself. So I'm going to jump out of this and probably start talking because it's a little bit distracting, but the part that I think is super intriguing about Decentraland is the Dow structure. So the DAO, which I mentioned before, was around the proposals that would be approved or submitted by the community, and the voting power that a landowner or a manor holder or someone that holds also owns a name within Decentraland can have votes for. I think most part of this is that the creator economy that it can support. When we sold all our land, there was 222 million mana that was put into a vesting smart contract. That there is, vesting every minute. And, currently we have over 130 million US dollars that's available in that treasury, and over $750 million that's currently vesting. What it means is that anyone from the community can go and apply for a community grant, and those that have the governance can actually vote if they believe that it's something that's strong to them and strong for the platform. So if you're a developer and you notice that landowners require more stability and safer securities around land leasing, and you want to develop a platform that coincides with that, the community will vote for a yes or no, and we currently have up to tier 6 grants, which allow up to 240,000 US dollars for 6 months worth of grants to come through to that proposal. But if you're a YouTube content creator and you want to apply for something for $5,000, you can, and anyone in between, which is super inspiring.
Can I jump in for a second, because I think this is extremely intriguing. And it's so very different than any other organization that I've ever seen, right? I'm not sure who in this call has worked for a classic organization, but of course normally you would have a salary, and if you have a proposal as an employee at n minus 20, right? So in the beginning level, there's no chance of getting your proposal sent to the board, right? So to clarify my understanding, the initial mana and land sales, did that initial sale, did that generate 130 million in the, let's say, in the current treasury?
No, so 200, it was all around the token mana. So as part of that, as part of the tokenomics, 222 million was put to the DAO, and another 222 million was put towards the foundation. So as part of our future plan, it may not require the foundation to actually exist. And the plans would be so that it would be self-sufficient enough. The most romantic side of it would be that it would be self-sufficient. So the DAO receives, as part of their treasury, the availability of the funds that have been invested, as well as the marketplace that we have on the platform. That's 2.5% for every sale goes back to the DAO. And any purchase of any name. So primary and secondary markets, basically, of the DAO treasury is built on. So yes, as a content creator, there's plenty of different applications that happen through the platform, and it's one that you've just got to consider who's voting at some points. But most of the time, like it's there on a position of like polls and different proposals that are sent through, and a combination of community grants. I want to develop a game, for instance, and I need support and funding to be able to do that within the Decentraland platform. I require X amount of dollars, and the community will vote for that. And yeah, it's super inspiring to think that and what that may mean for the creator economy moving forward.
It's a fascinating story, and that's, I think, one of the coolest stories I've seen in a long time, right? When it comes to really reinventing how this could work. So that voting that you mentioned, right? Is that very similar to political voting? So does everybody have one vote, or is it based on how much land you hold, or something else?
So it's based on there's a few different things. So if you own land, you have 2,000 voting power per land that you own. Whilst if you hold mana, it's 1 for 1. And if you own a name within the platform, it's 100 voting power. Just to give you a comparison to, there are different tiers, which you might have heard me before. Like I mentioned a tier 6 grant, which is our maximum grant at this point. That's for $240,000 US over 6 months. That requires over 8 million votes. VP. So, you would need a considerable amount of landowners or a considerable amount of manor holders to receive that grant. But we've seen a few different proposals that have been approved, which is awesome. Like one was around an experience that would be, it's called Indie Village, and it's there to help build and create a entertainment district that allows streaming for different musicians to connect on performance levels that they just might not be able to reach in terms of audiences and other things.
Yeah, and how does it work in practice? Because I can imagine if you're, let's say, you're Elon Musk and you're joining Decentraland, you have a lot of followers on Twitter, or so you can influence. Is that a factor that you can influence a lot of people to vote on your behalf, or does it work in a different way?
What our advice is in general is to join the Discord and be part of the community. And in that community are manor holders. There's those that own names, and there's those that own land. And just like anything that you're trying to receive votes for, you sell the case to them or market a way to connect to them and engage with them. And like that could be you being active within the platform and connecting with different landowners or other people that have governance to, the Discord or whatever it may be. we see that, like just like any other social platform, connecting on that level always has benefits in terms of being able to explore more of the idea and sell yourself in many ways. It doesn't have to be from an independent person either. We've seen a whole heap of different entities and communities come through as a holistic proposal for a community grant.
Yeah. Amazing. So super interesting. So people technically pitch their ideas in a Discord server, and is that in PowerPoint slides, or is that like how do they pitch? Is there a fixed format?
There is. So you actually can go onto Decentraland.org, and I'm going to show you a few things again. I'm going to try this. I was just getting distracted before because there was a few things that are coming up on my screen. But
I think both the conversation and your screen is interesting. So don't worry too much for us.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I'll show you through the process. But the documentation within Decentraland has been worked on considerably. So if you're a content creator and you want to build or you want to develop a wearable, like you can go straight into the builder and do so. But you can also deploy scenes that you may have made outside of the platform and follow through the documentation here, which goes through every bit of it. So if I want to create something, I can. These are the specs on how to build wearables. And like it's highly documented. So this is in the top section here. If you want to understand more about the community grants, you can just search for these. And it will go through every bit of it, the tier 6 grants, how they all work, what the voting power may be for it. And then if you wanted to even check out the current proposals that are within the platform, you can do that without having to even sign in with your wallet. You might see some pre-proposals, which I thought was interesting from a number of different. This is usually the process which you would start with. One which is of interest at the moment was through, as you can see, there's lots of different ones that have been discussed. But I did see one the other day, which sort of complemented an event that Rexona hosted, which was the first Metathon, obviously inspired by the Physical World Marathon, where there was some interesting parts to it. And they put through a proposal to talk about accessibility for all, which was the theme of what they were wanting to sort of connect to the community about. They had Paralympians and a number of other things. So they put through a poll to talk through all of this. The grant requests are here as well, and you can see what's active. Like there's things from analytic dashboards for billboards to there's a whole heap uncensored library in Decentraland. This is interesting. This project will bring
with the AR VR in there. Is there any ambition?
Obviously, it's part of our roadmap, and that's what we're building towards. The priorities for us are, it's this equilibrium that we need to meet, where VR itself is obviously not as accessible, and we've just gone through a whole discussion about Metathon and it being accessibility from an independent individual. But we look at it from accessibility that it could be better on performing as well for anyone to access, if you're through a web browser or a desktop client, so that it's using your current laptop's GPU instead of through a browser to mobile. But VR, yes, it is part of the future roadmap and has always been discussed. But for us, the focus would be taking the desktop client and making sure that they leaves beta whilst we're developing in parallel the mobile application. So you would notice here, see here, this is 4,660,000 votes. And this is the structure that you would find if you're applying. People include some links. There's some structure around what to include, and like there's references to the uncensored library in Minecraft, which is amazing about free speech. And obviously, this has been delivered and Metaworld is the creator. So they will then now receive $60,000 to build this.
Bizarre. I think this is fantastic, and that it actually it's working quite well. Like I'm trying to judge your opinion on this as well. But would you say that this is actually functioning and people are indeed then also delivering that for the €60,000, or does it also go wrong at times?
It's very early days. We launched this back so this was always part of our roadmap and the DAOs, and it's only recent. I would say from October last year was our first test trial, and we had up to tier 3 grants, which was $10,000. We started to work through testing of auditing of those type of agreements with the community, and then have obviously now been able to expand it to tier 6. We're not at a point where the 6 months of any of the tier 6 grants have elapsed. But I do think like this whole project has some form of human experiment to it, which is interesting again. But what we see is that we've developed terms and conditions and content policies and all the other parts that protect IP within the platform, protect users, and also look after expectations of how users should be interacting and engaging. Not any different from what you would see in the physical world, but the fact that the world itself is completely open sourced, and interoperable with anything on the Ethereum blockchain, meaning that if you connect your digital wallet, which I was trying to show you before, you can integrate as a builder, like if you've got land, to deploy something that can be a fully gated experience. So if I wanted to go see my favorite musician perform, and I went to the front of the building but couldn't enter, I required either a wearable or a particular NFT on Ethereum or its layer 2 protocols. I could then enter that building because I had that NFT, and then watch the performance with my friends, or my peers for that matter. So I think in many cases, most platforms are not really used to the open source interoperability that Decentraland has, where you're not just limited by the crypto token within the platform, you're actually limited by what the landowners decide to do in that platform itself. So, like a great indication is that you can use any ERC20 token, which is think Ethereum and Mana, which is our crypto, any stable coin within that being USDC, USDT, to interact with different builds and different experiences pending what the landowner or the agreement with the beneficiary address of that land decides to use it for. So imagine the fact that we're trialing a few different things from our side, where you can enter a gallery just like Sotheby's and buy within the platform a piece of art, a digital art. But that's no different from the fact that you could do that with physical product as well. There's an interesting sort of case study that we did. I think it was around March last year, with Domino's. Domino's has some public APIs, and so you can work with them, where for American residents, you can basically buy a pizza if you tap into their API, and we did that within the platform. So the interesting parts of all of this is that you're not just limited to the platform itself, it's anything surrounding it in many ways, which makes it super special to build in.
Yeah. Hey, can I ask you a more philosophical question? Because you're in the middle and you can see things developing over time. I've had some chats recently, also with the hardware guys on this front, right? So with, for example, HTC, but also with Nokia, like building the connectivity and compute infrastructure. And when I asked them, what do you think is the tipping point for this adoption of these virtual worlds, or let's say metaverse environments? They mentioned, well, that will happen if, for example, the hardware elements are good enough, right? So these VR glasses need to be 180 grams or less. Qualcomm chipsets need to be 2 generations into the future, which means you have sort of photorealistic experiences as a human being. Where other people mention, no, the mass adoption will happen if the killer app is invented. It could be Decentraland, could be the next Facebook. But what do you think? What are the elements that will influence whether this will take off, and what are you seeing so far?
I think it's a big question, but the reality of it is there's still friction points in general around blockchain technology and access in general. Digital ownership is definitely something that is building awareness, and some people value it and some people don't. But I do think that probably the concepts of the smartphone to the internet, we would need to start to see what that may be for those that can start to explore why digital ownership means something, and social interactions and social platforms is an easy step, but understanding and seeing the want and the need for that would be probably one part. But over the last 2 years that I've witnessed, I've seen even from Decentraland's unique monthly users from November 2020, where we had over I think we're scraping to 10,000 unique users a month, to then the following March where we're at 35,000 unique users per month, and it started to grow exponentially, an average to about 70,000 unique users per month between August to September. Meta then announced, Facebook announced their new name Meta and their plans for a metaverse, and those 75,000 unique users per month became weekly, and I think where we're at today is we're seeing on average about 430,000 unique users per month now, and I think within the romantic side of what Decentraland can offer, it can be a huge educational resource for what would maybe warrant the adoption of digital ownership and how to connect on this, whatever you define to be Web3 at this point in time. But yeah, I think the power of what that may mean to be able to have something in your wallet and see the true utilities and benefits within the platform, because you can access something or you can wear something and then you can sell that if you wanted to. You could reward users because of it. You could receive rewards for the time that you spend, but then also learn and educate yourself through multiple different means. It could very much play a part. Is it with VR or not? I think what we see today is similar to what we probably are dealing with in terms of what we've dealt with in the past in the days of Flash. So, and where blockchain needs to continue to evolve and be faster and be more efficient, and that access point will continue to need to grow to obviously see the adoption that people are expecting. But this is probably the internet that you're expecting to see, not Web 2. And I think that's probably where the most inspiring part about it would be.
Mm-hmm. There's a question here from Olivier in the chat. It's about full body motion tracking, and I know that there are things like Tesla suit and gloves you can wear. Like, what's your take on that? Does that really enhance your total experience? Is it important, or?
I think a level of escapism is always important, right? And whilst we're building in real time, I think the part for us is that we're on a path to develop and build this type of experience, but who knows where we will be in 5 years in terms of the technology that allows us to do what we need to do. We've seen performers streaming content through motion capture, which is a level of escapism that we've probably never seen within the platform. Most stream in via having a green screen or even no green screen, and a performance that has its own limitations, but people enjoy them. But honestly, it's all possible. The experience itself comes down to more than just what you're seeing, though, as well. It's no different from the fact that a content creator or a brand will have or a user, for that matter, just an average person would have an Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Discord, Snapchat, TikTok. Yeah, they're all social platforms that connect on different levels with different content. But from a brand and IP standpoint, they're usually heroed by a tone of voice. For a content creator, it's very similar, but usually in different ways that they can communicate to different audiences. And here in Decentraland, it's a crypto native community that's onboarding potentially new people that may have never experienced the metaverse, that may have a digital wallet, or someone that's just a guest that's exploring it just for their own interest. So yeah, a long-winded answer would be that all these different advances in time will hopefully catch up to a point where these experiences that we all expect to see in some time will be there. But yeah, for now, we're a 3D environment within a platform, within a browser and a desktop client.
Yeah. Clear. I'm for people listening, we've had some questions. If you have more questions, please ask them now. I promised Adam we would not take him too much because he just moved from Australia to Lisbon and is in the process of moving. So I promised to stop at 16:45. I have another question for you, Adam, and it's more strategic in terms of what sectors or what industries will be impacted by, and I think metaverse is too broad a word, but be impacted by these trends. Let's say decentralization, virtual worlds that you can enter into, avatars, the broader elements inside. Do you see impact on specific sectors, maybe media or other places? Because I see a lot of companies are moving into the sandbox, into Decentraland from lots of different sectors, right?
The interest is obviously there. I think the learning may have been, like a decade ago, if any brand may have been able to fast track their social strategy, they would have, instead of being caught up with corporate affairs in approvals for what may be a Facebook name or an Instagram handle at that point in time. I feel like, it's in such early stages that exploring and building case studies in this real-time factor is okay, and it's very forgiving. You don't have to have the perfect experience today. You just can connect and learn and engage with a community that are into a particular thing, and that particular thing isn't necessarily around decentralization, but around crypto and blockchain and the utility and benefits that provides. And I feel like a number of brands are exploring and doing that as we speak, and others are working out if this is part of their strategy or not. But is it that they're left behind or not at this point? It's more so like, well, can they learn faster and experience things that they can continue to develop within their own teams for?
So it's probably smart to be there, even if you don't necessarily know where that will take you. But if you're not there, of course, you're missing out and you're not learning.
I feel like one of the most common things that happens is that people feel somewhat lost about the Wild West of crypto, but the reality of it is it's really around blockchain. Teams that would come, starting to build Web3 teams, metaverse leads, but they're also all learning, just like all of us. Like I may be really deep, and a lot of our team in Decentraland, like we're scaling to, 150 odd staff by the end of the year, and we've got 80 staff men now across all engineers and devs. And as deep as we may be, we're all learning every day. There's always different experiences, and there's different updates which are always happening. And it's totally fine to be raw enough to sort of put your hand up and ask why and how and what does it mean. But I think that part of this process shouldn't hold up building a team around it, but more so like if a team hasn't been built, it's totally fine to still explore it and learn along with or in parallel with what you're developing and building to a community of people that are more than happy to give you that advice.
Yeah, I completely think you're right there. That you need to try and test this, right? And then whether you're a fashion brand or maybe even BCG as a consultancy brand, they're still playing around.
The funny part was like JP Morgan
Yeah.
recently launched their lounge, and who would have thought, financial services and even JP Morgan that were, 2 years ago, particularly against crypto, are here building and creating, owning land, doing what they needed, doing things that they're just exploring.
So significant pivot. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a last question here from the group. Vaibhav is asking, so how will the metaverse and the decentralized web reinvent online shopping?
It won't happen in coming days, but I think the experiences that you know today about going online and having that e-commerce experience, the level of escapism that you can expect out of that type of virtual environment is already happening within applications. It doesn't have to be decentralized and doesn't have to be on blockchain. But the best part about what we're doing and what we're seeing is that those that want to experience e-commerce within our platform and create identities and wear things in a digital form versus the fact of wearing those things and experiencing ordering a pizza through Domino's to receive is something that it's just for better like word, more interesting. And I think as a social platform and part of this creator economy that we're seeing built, however this starts to develop is like in the hands of those that are building now. And I think it's really left to our own imaginations and how great of an experience that will be or not, or the need for it. But who would have thought that looking at some photos on Instagram would then drive to shopping within that platform, to being such a big part of why brands are there, to the same of Facebook and marketplaces and other things. So yeah, I wouldn't say too different, like Web 2, Web 3, it all works in parallel of what we're dealing with. It's just verifiable and on the blockchain, for the matter of that digital ownership side of things.
Mm-hmm. And you saw H&M and Walmart coming out with digital stores, or at least renders of that. I'm not sure if they were actually digital stores, but they did some promotion, right?
Even with Fashion Week, for instance, like they don't. Some of the fashion labels weren't even releasing digital garments. They were expressing an event that would be no different from people attending something in a physical landscape. So you can build community, you can connect with community. You don't necessarily have to sell. And what we're seeing is that we're just being part of what would be a larger ecosystem around us where, the Australian Open, a 14-day tournament, people would go into Decentraland to experience it. And there was benefits to those that actually purchased their NFT program that was outside of the platform by connecting to it and having, performances that you could see by your favorite musicians that you couldn't get to see otherwise. It's just all different digital garments that you were gifted because you own that NFT. There's lots of different things that are happening. But like I said, there's these case studies are they're being built in real time. So along with a platform that's being built in real time.
Yeah, amazing. Hey, last minute, and my last question is a very simple question. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I did not ask that's very relevant, but that I forgot to mention?
I think we've covered a fair bit. I do think that part of this is around the fact that any creator, any user can go and experience Decentraland without having that digital wallet. And, I think one of the most important parts is sort of understanding what that may mean to have the benefits and utility. But at the core of it, it's, exploring in general what this may mean and how that may look to any individual in the future. But I don't think, I know that we'll kind of, I was a little distracted at the start. It's taken me some time to warm in along with my jet lag and a number of other parts of things that are happening around me. But I do think that, if there's any questions, people can email me at adam@decentraland.org. I can put you in contact with a lot of the team here. And, I think at this point in time, I don't think as daunting as it is that, maybe we all don't know necessarily how the future may look within blockchain itself, you can definitely explore it today.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the so Adam, thanks a lot, and I know with moving to Lisbon and everything, it is challenging, and we appreciate it even more because it was challenging to do it. So very much appreciated. I'm not going to keep you longer. People have your email address if there are more questions. They also have mine. So if you need the link to Adam, then you can also email me. Recording will be sent to you as a listener later. And Adam, thanks so much for dialing in. And I hope the final parts of moving to Lisbon will be okay.
Thank you. Take care, guys.